Bay and North Stradbroke Island really sheltering us from the worst of Cyclone Alfred, but we're slowly starting to see it set in, and it really has brought people out of that lull, that false sense of security that they were feeling. Now, all of these homes that you might be able to see behind me, as well as the water, well, this is where there is a real area of concern in Brisbane's Bayside at Lota, where we are this morning. Now, we've seen some pretty incredible pictures actually in the city of just how quiet it's been. There's incredible shots from the 7 News Chopper when it was able to head up in that little break in the weather with roads completely quiet. All of the trains, of course, because public transport stopped, are tucked away at the depot. All of the planes, well, they're tied down as best as they can be. But we know that there is already 40,000 residents across southeast Queensland without power. The majority where you are this morning, Shervo, on the Gold Coast, as well as on those Bay Islands where this system is really hitting.
Yeah. Let's go to Katie Brown. She's at Byron Bay. Katie, the last time we crossed to you, floodwaters were there where you were and people still willing to drive through them.
Yeah, and Shervo, the traffic is still continuing. It's almost like the people or the locals who aren't locals in here are trying to get home before it is too late. The flooded waters here, though, we're seeing even full drives turn around because they simply don't feel safe getting through. We've got an ambulance coming through right now, which is an essential. They need to be able to get access into these areas. We've also seen just to our left that the street has been blocked off. Cars are actually parking where there's still land, and residents are living in low-lying areas. There's water in their backyards at the moment, and this is just the start of what's to come over the next 24 to 48 hours. This house here on the corner, luckily it's on stilts because it's not fully underwater just yet, but you know, it just shows how quickly things change in a matter of hours, and people who have been through a flood before can understand and appreciate that these things, the water rises quickly, but it sometimes is a slow burn. And people, the residents of Lismore, they experience this. They sort of know how quickly to measure their timing to be in a safe place. But look, not everybody is abiding by the rules, and we saw some really silly drivers early on. Look, when you take a camera somewhere, people seem to like to put on a performance, whether it's safe or not, and that just had me thrown because we are talking about a Category 2 cyclone here. Look, most people are doing the right thing, and it's great to see, and everyone is prepared.
Early tomorrow, so really it's a watch and wait situation, but at the moment the locals here they're out and about and probably should be thinking about staying home.
Yeah, absolutely, Nataya. Thank you so much. Let's go to Claire Todd-Hunter now, who's on North Stradbroke Island. Claire, I feel for you. It's been a sleepless night there and conditions worsening there today.
Well, it's actually eased off a little bit this morning, nowhere near as hairy as we saw overnight. There were some frightening winds that came through, howling and roaring and rattling our doors. We know that things are going to pick up again, though. It's destructive winds anticipated today, up to 130 kilometres an hour predicted by the Bureau of Meteorology, depending on Alfred's movements, and that's prompted Redland City Council to issue an emergency warning for island communities ahead of those destructive winds arriving today. They're asking people to take shelter now, to find a safe place away from large windows in strong, secure places of the house. That could be in bathrooms, walk-in wardrobes, or even just in the hallway as well. That does limit us to taking you out and showing you what has happened overnight, but I can tell you what we do know, and that's that trees are down on East Coast Road, which connects Dunwich with where we are now, which is Point Lookout. That's caused a few problems overnight. Some issues over at the surf club behind us too at Point Lookout, where there has been some problems with the wind overnight, causing issues for the roof. As well, outside of North Stradbroke Island, we know that there is power out too on 3 different islands, including Macleay and Russell and Cuchimundlo. There's around 5,000 homes blacked out this morning.
Yeah, Claire, they really are exposed at the moment, and the worst is yet to come. Australia's such a beautiful island, and it's wild and it's woolly and it's feeling it right now. Thank you. Let's go to Adam Jackson, who's at Mooloolaba on the Sunshine Coast. Adam, what's the latest there?
There is to be no offshore activity in these parts. Vessels stay inshore. Do not defy the order of the local harbour master. If you do so, you face a fine of up to $32,000 or potentially even worse consequences. I spoke to the officer in charge a short time ago here on the Sunshine Coast. Here's what he had to say when he reissued that warning.
Not only is the chance that they may not receive assistance, they are putting other people's lives at risk.
That's all standard procedure for any major weather event in these parts as we wait to see the effects that it will have, the tropical cyclone here on the Sunshine Coast.
Adam Jackson will leave it there. Thank you. Let's go to Lismore now in northern New South Wales. All of Australia, our hearts are very much with that town right now. They have been through so much. James Wilson is there for us. James, you've got a feel for everyone there. What is the latest? What are they facing?
Absolutely, Davina, and everybody's keeping their eyes on the Wilsons River to my left. It has exceeded minor flooding level. It's around 4.4 metres at the moment, really climbing. But really the main concern right now isn't the flooding, it's the power outages. Around 45,000 homes across the northern rivers are without power, and I've just spoken to Essential Energy who say it's too dangerous to send their workers out to fix these problems, so they'll need to stand down and wait until this system passes, until they can get out and restore power. What it means for residents is they need to hunker down. They could be without power for several days now, so we saw them stocking up a little bit earlier. Davina, there are 25 evacuate now orders in place, particularly for communities along the Wilsons River and the Richmond River to my south, and even further south to Port Macquarie. We're really seeing the rain starting to come down. It's quite interesting. It moves in patterns, big gusts of wind and then heavy downfalls, and then it goes slightly calm. It is important to know with the category of cyclone, even if it does get downgraded, that won't be an indication of how much rain falls. So Lismore, regardless of the intensity of Alfred when it hits the coast, is expected to be in for a wild ride over the next few days. And the catchment of the Wilsons River sits to the north of Lismore, so all that rain we're seeing above this town will eventually filter its way down into Lismore, and we could see that extended flooding really into the weekend and into early next week. Davina?
That's a worry, isn't it? The south of the system really calming at the moment, and Lismore at the heart of that. Thank you, James. Let's go to Redcliffe now, just north of Brisbane. This is where the eye of the storm is forecast to track over as it passes the coast early Saturday morning. Alison Petrowski is there for us. Ali, how's it looking? How's everyone feeling?
It's that eerie thing, Davina, like you were saying yesterday, the calm before the storm. I've got to say it feels incredibly chilled, incredibly relaxed here at Redcliffe Beach. There's families, this guy's out here running, there's families out and about having a walk. The kids are out, kids are on the playground today. As you can see, lots of people out and about, lots of people wanting to make the most of what feels like, Davina, some sort of unofficial public holiday that Alfred has delivered by coming a little later. The residents here in southeastern Queensland really making the most of it. They don't want to go away. And also talking to some of the locals here along the beach, Davina, they say that they feel a little shielded by Moreton Island. So they feel a little confident that they're not really going to get hit, even though as you said, Cyclone Alfred is tracking right towards where I am right now on Redcliffe Beach. A little further down the road, things the mood was a little bit more serious. I caught up with some residents who were sandbagging and making last-minute preparations. Let's hear from them.
Yeah, moved from Canada maybe about 30 years ago. Never thought I'd be shoveling anymore. Spent most of my life shoveling snow. Now I'm shoveling sand. So hopefully everyone will stay safe and we'll battle on.
I think the community is still slightly fearful, but at the same time, I suppose they're like everyone else. It's sort of coming, it's not coming. They don't know what to think. They double guess themselves.
Yeah, so look, a strange mood here in Redcliffe, Davina. Some complacency here on the beach, some concern a little further inland. 417,000 sandbags have been packed over the last few days, so it seems like plenty of Brisbane people are taking this very seriously and making preparations and taking advantage, I guess, of this final day as we wait as Alfred moves like a snail towards the Queensland coast.
You're right about that. It feels like an unofficial public holiday, but the worst yet to come. So, Ali, we'll come back to you later on. Thank you. We're still ahead on Nine's special edition of Nine's Morning News. The countdown to landfall will take you live to the Weather Bureau for the very latest tracking on when Cyclone Alfred will hit with its full force. Plus, tens of thousands of homes right now without power. We'll take you live to Energets. They're weathering the storm and how and when and how.
Hi and welcome to the Aussie Ideas Man. This house is right in the path of Tropical Cyclone Alfred. I'm going to show some of it while being sort of trapped in the house for the next, I don't know, 2 or 3 days, who knows. We've still got 24 hours before the cyclone is due to hit. This cyclone we have known about for at least a week, and in the last 3 days it has been forecast to actually hit Brisbane, the biggest city in Queensland, Australia. Cyclones don't usually come this far south. They usually are at least 500 miles further north, where North Queensland gets them pretty much every year, 1 or 2. So this is a first for Brisbane. The affected area is right down into northern New South Wales and up to the Sunshine Coast, including the Gold Coast between us and northern New South Wales. It was forecast to have already passed by now, but it has slowed down its trajectory. But it's still category 2 as far as its winds are concerned, which can be up to about 150 kilometres an hour. I expect once the high winds come, ads on TV. I expect once the high winds come, there's a chance my tile roof might come off in the wind. So downstairs from here I've got a garage and I'm going to sleep in the car. Got a mattress in the back all ready to sleep the night. So if the roof does come off, we're pretty safe down there. Just this one night, although now it seems the cyclone isn't going to hit in the early hours of Saturday morning tomorrow, but more like about 10, 11 a.m. so it'll be broad daylight. This is my first cyclone in my life. Ooh.
Joins us live from Parliament House. Reece, good morning to you. We do have an update on the support that's heading our way to Queensland and northern New South Wales. What can you tell us?
Davina, good morning to you. The Prime Minister has confirmed a further 120 ADF troops have been mobilised to the cyclone zone. That's in addition to the 60 troops already on the ground. They'll start work in New South Wales today, supporting the SES with everything from welfare checks to road clearing and sandbagging. That will be welcome support on the ground. The Prime Minister also taking the time this morning to thank the emergency service personnel and the various groups of volunteers who are on the front line helping those in this storm's path to prepare. Take a listen.
Well, that'll do me for this part. I'm sure there's going to be a few more that I can do, but you can see from here it doesn't look very bad at all so far. 24 hours to go. That will do for this record.